Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on how to hire a good website developer. I'm Bob Hogan, the webinar coordinator today and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County. I'm going to be your host today, and our presenter is Jennifer DeRosa. More on Jennifer in just a minute, but just some brief information first on SCORE. SCORE is a nonprofit national partner of the SBA, and locally here at SCORE Fairfield County, we have over 100 volunteers with a wide range of industry, process, and subject matter expertise. We offer 3 primary value-added services that you can see on the screen there. First of all, we offer free one-on-one counseling to small business owners, and you can access that by video, telephone, email, and any way you like. And you can get a mentor by clicking on the bit.ly link that you see on the screen, that yellow bit.ly link, or you can go to our website and click on the request a mentor link. Secondly, we offer a wide range of educational workshops and webinars like the one today, about 100 throughout the year. And lastly, we offer extensive resources on our website, including access to subject matter experts. Our next live webinar will be tomorrow, Thursday, January 13th at noon, and the topic is building mobile apps, advanced software, and AI solutions without code. And that is Colin O'Brien presenting. And again, you can find more specifics on that webinar on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org. If you're on our website, we also have a large number of archived webinars and a wide range of business topics that you can view on demand at any time. Just some logistics regarding our webinar today. We have set aside time for Q&A at the end of the presentation. If you have a question, please use the chat window, or please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll take those at the end of the webinar, Jennifer's prepared remarks. We will, though, end our webinar sharply at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be available on our website within the next day or two. It's now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Jennifer DeRosa. Jennifer has built websites and run her successful web agency, TechCare, for the last 23 years. TechCare creates websites for small and medium-sized businesses and organizations throughout the U.S. Prior to forming TechCare, Jennifer was a consultant for major companies such as MBCC, US Surgical, GTE, GE Capital, Unilever, and Calvin Klein. Jennifer, it's all yours.
I'm muting. There you go. Hi, everybody. Thank you for attending. I know you're taking time out of your busy schedule. Everyone is, has things that they're doing, either starting a new business or working in a business or whatever. So I appreciate it. And hopefully I can give you some knowledge that will help you make good decisions going forward. So I'm going to try to talk a little slow. I get really excited about this because I'm very passionate about websites and what we do. Oops, sorry, getting a phone call. I'll just try to talk slow. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them all at the end. So a little bit about myself. It's been, over 25 years. I learned HTML for fun in 1995. And I've been building websites ever since then. Over 23 years formally in business, and located in Connecticut and Florida. And actually, just to let you know, I just recently had an exit. Our company has been acquired by another one, so I've built something that was desirable for other ones to buy. I'm still in the website building business, and I'm also going to be assisting people who can't afford to hire a web developer, setting up a coaching group to help people build it themselves and train them, because I have a lot of knowledge up here and I want to help other people. So it's a little bit about me. So let's talk about you and what you're building. And you're probably coming from different areas. Some of you maybe are starting a new business. Maybe some of you are an author, or you want to just build a portfolio website, or maybe you work for a company and you've been tasked that you have to build this new website and hire someone to do this, okay? And you probably don't know a lot about it. You may know some, you have different levels of knowledge, but it's kind of like hiring somebody, an electrician. I don't know electricity. I don't know how it works, but I hire someone and I'm assuming they're doing a good job. I have no idea. When they leave my house, they could have done something terrible that might burn the house down. So we want to arm you with a little bit of questions and things that you can ask a potential web developer to make sure that because you don't know exactly what they're doing under the hood, because that's why you're hiring them, so that you put yourself in a good position. If we start this project, let's think about our goals, right? So our goals are to build a website that is up to date, right? We don't want to build something that looked great in 1995 when we first started. So we want to build something that looks up to date. We want to build something that's easy to navigate, meaning get around least clicks possible to find the information we want. You go to a website and you're like, oh, I can't find anything on this website. So we want to build something that's easy to navigate. This is really important. We want to build something that's emotionally intriguing. And so don't forget about this. A lot of people just like, oh, it's just a website. Well, you know what? Every website that is developed when someone visits it creates an emotional response, whether you like it or not. You can say, I don't care about that, but it's happening to your website. So you want to create an emotional response. It's a good relief, so that someone comes to you and say, oh, this is exactly what I've been looking for. That's what you want to create, not like, oh, this is disgusting, or I can't find what I want, or I'm frustrated, okay? Because when you create that emotional response, relief is what I'm looking for, you've already entered that sales process and you've already closed part of that deal. Very important. Then we want to gather leads, or we want to sell our products. So obviously we want it to work. We want some actual return that we can measure. And then we want to build something that is with good SEO practices. And I'm going to go through that a little bit. So what SEO is search engine optimization. You've probably heard that term a lot. It's very loosely used now. There's a lot of scammers out there in the industry right now who want to get you on their monthly plan and charge you a lot of money for doing barely anything. So we want to be really, really, really wary of that. It's the used car and part of our industry. So, that idea, not that used cars are bad, but that's the idea that I want to give to you. So you want to make sure you use good SEO practices, because there's things called white hat and black hat. White hat is legit, black hat is not legit. And I'm going to show you a couple examples of black hat so you can make sure you stay away from those. Okay. And growth potential. This is really important too. You want to build this in a way that's going to grow with your company. If you get stuck in a situation where you cannot move your website, that you are literally married to the developer that you're working with, and then later on you don't like that developer, or something happens and you can't move away and you have to start from scratch, that can happen. So you want to make sure you don't get put in that position. Okay. So this is kind of the overall presentation. I'm giving you some information, arming you so that this can be your overall goal. So here's some interview questions. How long have you been in business? This may seem like a simple one, but a lot of people are jumping into website development. I work with somebody who he sells medical equipment, and he decided, oh, we'll just start doing websites. He has no idea what to do. And so, but it's easy. You can easily sell websites to people because you can learn a little bit and then you can go out and sell them. And you don't know what those web developers don't know what they're doing. So you want to find out, is this new? Okay. Not that meaning that new is going to be necessarily bad, but you want to find out how long someone has been doing this. Are they just testing out the waters, or what? What background does this person have? Have they been working in IT? Have they been working on websites? Did they just open up their company, but they've been working with high level, websites in the past, like maybe for a big organization? Like, just find out about their background and how involved they are, like on forums and online communities. So as a web developer, I can just tell you, good web developers are involved in forums and communities and Facebook groups and LinkedIn groups. We all talk amongst ourselves. We're active. So are you hiring someone that wants to be aware of what the latest and greatest is in the industry, that's chatting with other people in the industry? Or are you hiring somebody that's just doing this on the side that doesn't really care and is not invested in it? So find out that information. Can I see some of your work? So this is really important. See if I can move my screen down a little bit. So do you like the style of their website? So look at their other work that they've done. That's a really good place to start. Do they do designs that's not your style? Do they do designs that look like a teenager did it? Well, I shouldn't say teenager because they probably do them really well, but that looks like it was created in 1995, like I said when I started. So look at their other work. Are they built with modern design? What is modern design? Modern design is, it should reformat automatically for phones. A use of full screen, really large fonts, beautiful photos. We can go over that more, and you can look that up on Google, like what is modern design for websites, but are they doing that, or are they building it in old style? And then do all of the websites look unique? So I want to show you a website. I went to some trade shows and I met some. I see your question, or that well, I'll answer that at the end. So when I went to this trade show, I talked to some people, and different people came up to me and they said, oh yeah, I have a website. I paid these companies to do the website. So I'm going to show you, someone came up to me and they had this website. So that's what their website looked like. Okay. So you can see it's green, black. This is what it used to look like, but by the way, and that's kind of what it looked like. Then I went to another trade show like 2 weeks later, and someone came up to me and said, oh yeah, I have a website already. I'm like, oh really? That was his website. Looks kind of similar, right? So if you care about, and maybe you don't care, maybe that doesn't matter to you, but if you really care about branding and making yourself stand out and look unique, like if you're going to start a business, either start it or don't. Like get a good logo, get a website that's good, but make yourself look different. Otherwise, I don't know why start this business. But so make sure that you don't come up with something that looks so similar to other websites, okay? And those are the links to the two. And then how do the sites behave on different devices? Like look at some of the websites they've done. Does it look good on a tablet? Just view it on a mobile device. You know, do a little investigation. You don't have to do a lot, but just spot check a couple. Make sure that you're getting into a situation which is going to be good for you. This is a really important question to ask. No one has ever, maybe people have asked me this over the years, but this is super important. Who does actual work? Like this, I was just telling you, the gentleman that he sells medical devices, we're doing his website work for him, which is fine, but he does not know technically what's going on. A lot of people will hire developers overseas. They're really great and they're wonderful, but you have to realize that it's a different, you're going into a situation, it's a different mentality, right? So when like we work with our customers, our people are based in the United States, we like understand we try to understand their culture. We try to understand their client. We try to understand their potential visitor to their website. Whereas you can just build a website with none of that, right? And make it look beautiful if your messaging is not there. Okay, so you have this website with no messaging. You're not going to create that sense of relief that I talked about in the beginning. So you want people that really understand your business. I had a client that came to me. She came back to me. She left for a while and then she came back to me. She's like, oh, everything's all a mess. Can you please help me with this website? And so I looked and I found out she had bartered. Her flooring guy decided he was doing websites. So she had bartered floors, or was in this bartering group. I don't know. He was selling. I just looked, did a little sleuthing. And then I figured out when I went in there, the website, it was a total disaster. It was built wrong. And I can go over it, and there you're asking about the products. It was like the products that she had in there were all, they were built wrong. It was built completely wrong. And I looked up who the administrative email was, and I looked him up, and I found him. So he's listed here, $4 an hour. So what that person, the flooring guy, sold to her probably was thousands of dollars. And he probably paid this guy maybe $200-300 for doing a ton of work. So, you know, I mean, good for that flooring guy for making a buck, but at whose expense? Now my client had to come to us and spend more money to create it. So ask who's doing the work, just understand that. And if you're fine with that, that's okay. But just, it's a good question to bring up, who's doing the actual work and how is that going to impact the end result? Then we want to ask other questions. Do you hire developers on a project basis? The reason why this is important is because we developers, we can develop anyway, right? So I can develop on WordPress, I can develop on, you know, Shopify, Magento. There's all different platforms that we can develop on. We can write it in HTML, we can do it custom and everything. When you have developers that are not part of your regular, you don't do everything the same way, and that the agency is hiring random people, do you know what they're going to do? They're going to build it all differently, okay? Because you can code many different ways. It doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means it's coded differently. So that's fine. So you have this website coded by some people. In 6 months, you need to make a major change. You acquired another company, you're adding a new service, blah, blah, blah. You want to change the whole homepage, whatever it is. Does someone have to go back and relearn everything? Does someone have to go back and re-engineer what they did before? If they have to go back and redo everything, you're not in a good position as the owner of that website. You're not going to get your best result. You want to work with a company that does things the same way for everyone, so that when you go back in a year, the same team is going to be there and they'll be like, yep, I can pick up where we left off. I understand your business. We already went through the messaging. I know what you want. I'm going to help you with that. And I also know how it's built. Okay. So and it makes it faster and easier for everyone. You get a better result. So find out if the developers are hired on a per project basis. Well, I have administrator access to this account. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but this is a big sticky issue in our industry and on forums. We have a lot of discussions. I am completely for every customer having administrative access to their website. You have paid for it. Kind of like a mortgage, a home, right? Once you pay off your mortgage and you have the title to that home, you own it. You don't let anyone else tell you how to decorate it or paint it, or if you can change the windows. Well, there are a lot of web developers out there who feel like people are stupid and they're going to ruin everything I've done, so I'm not giving them any access. Or when you decide to part ways with them, they take away your access so you can't do anything. I had a client last year, same thing. She told the company, I'm not going with you, I'm going with another company. They took away all of her access to the back end. It's basically, in my mind, criminal. And this is an important question. You, if you are paying for this, should have all access to all of your website, administrative, 100%. And that shouldn't be an exception they're going to make for you. That should be their rule. So ask for it. The last thing I just want to point out is, and this doesn't happen that much anymore, it happened more years ago. If you are doing a WordPress, making a WordPress website, many years ago when we would install WordPress, it would set up the administrator username automatically, and it always named the administrator admin. So guess what hackers need to hack into your website? They need two pieces of information: username, password. If they have your username, which is admin, they have 50% of what they need to hack in. All they need is 50 more percent. So we never, ever, ever, ever use admin as the name to log into your account. If you have a website right now and you are logging in as an admin, after this meeting, immediately you need to go in and set up a new account and delete the admin or change it. And maybe you want someone to do that, because don't delete it without attributing all of the data to another person, because you will delete your entire website. There's a way to do it properly. What I'm saying to you is someone needs to rectify that. And if you've paid for someone to set up a website and they've given you something with admin, you need to think about who you've hired to do that. It's an absolute no. Okay. This is a quick one too. If you're going to be using WordPress, ask the potential web developer about the themes they're going to be using. I had someone recently, we are doing their site now, but prior to that, in the pre-sales process, they were asking me, you know, what's the difference between a custom theme and a WordPress one you buy? We're having information we should do a custom theme. They're telling us we should do it. I created a blog post on our website. It's a little video that goes into the pitfalls of that. You can get more details if you want to look at that. But a custom theme is basically someone codes it all by hand. That might be great and everything, but you always need to be thinking about your business growing. This is your business. You want it to grow with you. So in a year from now, who's updating the theme? There are security releases coming out on a daily basis, all the time. You have no idea how much, or maybe you do know. These plugins and things on your website are updating all the time. If you have a custom theme and nobody is updating it, or is an old theme that's outdated and it's not being updated, it is ripe for hacking, number one. And number two is something eventually is going to change on the website that's going to make your website not display. So you need the website to be updated all the time. If someone custom writes a theme for you, are they going to be updating it all the time? Probably not, because they're in the web development business, not in the theme development business. So the people who write the theme should be in the theme development business. They're writing the theme, they're perfecting it, they're fixing security holes, they're doing all of that all the time. They focus on that, not on building websites. They focus on the theme. Web development agencies should be focusing on, building a website, getting your messaging, helping you market, all of that. Okay. There are random themes you can use. You can buy them off of ThemeForest if you've looked around. We don't buy them that way. That's okay. The problem with that is, while it's created a great opportunity for people around the world that are in places that would never be able to get, a great job, maybe it's created great wealth for them. And that's wonderful. The problem is if you go and use those, which we used to use those, like, probably about 15 years ago, different themes, because that's really how we bought them back then. I had one point, like one of my clients' site, their whole portfolio just totally broke. And so I wrote to the developer and they're like, oh yeah, it's not going to work. And I'm not developing this anymore. And so why don't you just go back, like backdate it? Like, that's not an answer to go backwards in time because you're not going to fix it. So you don't want to get into that position where you have a website that all of a sudden has an issue and it's not being updated, because now we had to switch everything over to a whole new theme. And so that was rebuilding the website. It was time and materials and cost for the client. So for my client. So you don't want to get in that position. You want the developer, if you're using WordPress, to use a supported theme. Okay? One that has a lot of support. Important. Unless you have something specific. And I do say that, like, if you have some specific thing that cannot be done with a regular theme, that's the case to use a custom. But in most cases, most things can be done with the way you can buy off the shelf, really. Don't let anyone try to talk to you about that and talk technical and stuff like that and scare you. Go watch that video website or reach out to me. I'll help you. What type of backup do you put in place? And all my years of doing this, I've only had a couple websites come to me with backup. Can you believe that? It's true. If you have a website right now, do not assume that it's being backed up. Most likely it's not. If you have your website like on GoDaddy, Bluehost, HostGator, HostMonster, DreamHost, all those, they make one backup and that's what they keep. And I don't even know, some of them only do it once a week. So say you had a problem with your website or you needed to look at something that was 3 weeks ago. Sorry. A lot of websites aren't even backed up at all. Okay. You have to do that as an add-on. It is not, unless you have, if you have hosting such as WP Engine, Flywheel, Kinsta, Cloudways, those are doing a backup. They keep different amounts of time. So you have to look at that. But you should really go, if you have a website right now, after this seminar today, you want to find out what kind of backups in place and how many. So let's go through the questions you need to find out. So the hosting, I mentioned to you the hosting. If you rely on your hosting, okay, that could be Flywheel, Kinsta, they're backing up, okay? If there are free plugins you can get for, I'm talking about specifically for WordPress right now. There are plugins you can get. A lot of them are free. Okay, that's fine if you have a backup, but where are the files kept? A lot of times they'll do the backup and keep the files directly on your same place where your hosting is. So guess what happens? Say your whole hosting goes down. Guess what you lose? Your backup is there. It's kind of like keeping your fire extinguisher underneath your stove. You're not supposed to do that. If there's a fire, you can't get to your fire extinguisher. So it's useless. You put the fire extinguisher in the hallway, right by the entrance to the kitchen, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Same thing here. You need to put your backup files somewhere else, not on your same hosting account. And it needs to back up automatically every day. Okay, automatically. You don't go and do manual. And then the big question is, and our question, or what we always say in the data world, if you're in the tech world, your data is only as good as your backup, right? So your backup, how do you restore it? You can back up all day long. If it's a really complicated restore and it may not go well and it's a very manual process, yeah, it doesn't matter what's in the backup. If you can't get it back up, then it's not worth anything. So you need to find, and also some backups too, like if you call some hosting, I haven't talked to hosting in a while because we do it a different way, but they used to charge like $300 to restore a website. So like you need to know how the restore happens. So that's a good question. How are we backing up? What is your backup procedure? How many days do you keep? Where are the files kept? If it needs to be restored, how easy and quickly is it to restore? And who does that? Who does it? And do I pay for that? So find that information out, okay? And I mentioned keep it offsite with 90 days, okay? And you want a one-click restore. We have a great, I recommend if you have a WordPress website, Malcare, M-A-L-C-A-R-E. It's excellent, 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 excellent. I won't go into detail, but you can look that up. Highly, highly recommended. Okay. Which is, they also do malware protection. So this is a good question. Most people don't have malware protection on their website either. And we hear in the news now, you hear about ransomware and all that other stuff, right? It's becoming the forefront of the news now because it's affecting large organizations. That is making an impact like we had last summer on the oil refineries. But so who find this out? If my site is hacked, how easy is it to clean it? Okay, what procedures are you going to put into place? Now, some hosting companies, and we specialize in WordPress, that's why we talk about that, and you may use something else, which is fine, but I'm just kind of talking about that. If you use like Flywheel or WP Engine, they guarantee you won't get hacked. And if you do get hacked, they guarantee they'll clean it for free. So that's a good thing you find that out. You're like, great, okay, I feel secure about that. I feel happy about that. If you're not on one of those and you're on like Bluehost or GoDaddy or HostGator, those ones that I mentioned before, there is no malware protection on your website at all. In addition, those hosts, if they're not WordPress only hosting, and again, I'm talking about WordPress, so sorry if you have another a platform. But if you have only WordPress, if it's only WordPress hosting, their firewalls and their technicians and everything that they do is going to be built around protecting WordPress websites and knowing WordPress hacks and WordPress problems, right? So they're specialists in that. So they're going to have probably something in place. If you go with hosting like Bluehost or those other ones I mentioned, they host all kinds of websites, straight HTML, PHP, all these different ones, right? They don't have firewalls built for WordPress. You're going to get hacked eventually. We get hacked less nowadays because things are written better, people are updating better and everything. But back in like 2010, websites were getting hacked left and right, okay? And you can be like, well, it probably won't happen. You know, you can take that risk. I had a pediatrician's office when you went to their website, it showed child porn. Not really good, not really good at all. You want to protect against that, right? Because it can ruin your business or your reputation. So who's going to clean it? How easy is it to clean if you do get infected? And how much money is that going to cost you? I will say there's a product out there, SiteLock, which is a total waste of money in my estimation. If you have that, I would just cancel that subscription. But if you are on Bluehost, they will tell you it will be fine to cancel, but it probably will bring your site down. That's happened every time that we've canceled site hosts when hosting with Bluehost, but hopefully that won't happen to you. But anyways, that's kind of a waste. Malcare, I love that company. I don't make any money from them. They have a great firewall. So something to think about, but ask your web developer and if they don't have an answer for that, then they haven't been doing that this long, or they're really not prepared. You probably would want to move on in your search for looking for web developers. Who's going to write the content? So this is, people come to us and like, do we have to write it? Do you write? What am I paying for? So there are content writers you can hire out there. You can also pay money and think that you're getting content written. So I did those trade shows I told you about. They were landscaper trade shows. One of my clients came up to me and they said, oh yeah, they wrote the copy. They wrote everything for the website. They did it and they did it really cheap. I'm like, oh, really? Okay, so this was one of the phrases that was on their homepage, right? We understand that the outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts that will consult with you to determine your exact needs. Well, that looks nice. So if you got the copy back, you hired a cheap place to do it, and you got that back, you're like, wow, that's pretty nice, right? I just took those sentences and put it into Google. Kingsbury Landscape and Design. We have a team of experts that will consult with you to determine your exact needs. Okay, that's not exact. We understand that the outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts that blah, blah, blah. Here's North Andover. As a clean-cut landscaping, we understand that the outdoor aesthetic of your home or business is important as your interior. We have a team of experts. Do you see this? Do you see this? It goes on for pages. So what does that mean for you? Google thinks that's plagiarized content, all right? And if you have lifted copy off of another website and pasted on yours, okay, it's plagiarized. Google knows that. If you have any children who have to turn in homework on this homework website, they check it for plagiarism. They have a very good database. You're not going to get away with it. They're going to ding you. They're not going to return you in search. Why would they return you in search if you're just copying other people's website? That's not Google's model. You got to think like Google. Google wants to return good quality content to people. If Google returned this list to everybody when they were searching for something, it was the same content and the same on every website, you would get frustrated and you would use a different search engine. So find out who's writing your copy, if someone else is going to be writing your copy. And then if you do that, just do a checkup. Take some of the phrases that were given to you, put them into Google and see if other people have written the same way, if they've lifted your copy, because this happens and you don't want to get in a situation where you're paying for it. How much will it cost to write the content? And then will they give you the list of pages that they need the content for? So, you're going to find out about who's going to write the content. Okay. Most likely it's going to be you, and it should be you. It should be you or someone on your team. This is another big one. So the SEO, which I talked about before, is the optimization of your pages, is not always included in the price. Okay, quote. So you need to know what's included. Don't think that all of a sudden, it's all going to be optimized for Google and you're going to be on it. That is not the case. It doesn't happen magically. All right. So most time it's not included, and you should expect to spend some money afterwards. You need to install, if you have a brick and mortar business or if you're a local provider, it's called local schema markup. Okay, so you want to put that local schema markup on your website. What that is, without being too technical, is coding on the back end of your website that Google reads. It's actual code, so it's not like a sentence written out, that gives Google your longitude, your latitude. It lets you know the hours that you're open, your phone number, like your NAP, your name, address, phone number. There's a bunch of information, like what credit cards you take, like there's a bunch of information that we put on the back end of your website when we do local schema markup. It's what helps you get into the map. Okay, when you do a Google search, there's a map. If you're looking for something local, it will appear the 3 top ones right away on the page, and then you can click into it and see all of them. So that doesn't happen magically. That happens because there's a bunch of different reasons that happens, but one of the things is the local schema markup on your website. If you're brick and mortar and you have not had this put on your website, you need to get it put on. Okay, simple. It's not a big deal. I mean, it's simple for us, but it's an easy process to do, so you want that on there. But that's part of SEO, which is search engine optimization. So ask the developer, are you going to be installing that on my website? If you're selling a national, like products nationally, you don't really need that on there, okay? It's really just for local. Your title and meta descriptions. Your title and meta descriptions are, if I go back here, this Chris Savage lawn care flower, that's the title. And this down here, the words down below, is the meta description. If you don't provide those directly, Google chooses what it wants to choose for you, and sometimes it can be horrific. Okay, so that's doing, and Google looks to those for keywords and deciding whether they want to return your website in search or another website in search. Okay, we also need to insert your keywords into the content. Your alternate. There's a lot of things that go into optimizing a site for search. So you want to make sure, find out about what's being offered from your web development agency, and they might not do that at all. And you might need to go to someone else, which is fine, but just be aware and don't think that that's included. Okay. There's also something called directories and citations. You want to ask if they do those. Those are pretty simple to do as well, but it is something that helps with that local markup. You're included in directories and citations around the internet, whether you like it or not. All the information needs to be exactly the same for Google to return you in search. So that's something you can order. And if you have questions about that, you can offline. I can answer those because it is a little bit, or I can send you a description. There's actually a description on our website of what those are. But just find out if the company does that, and ask them if they're going to help with your Google listing. And that's another thing. If you don't have your Google listing done right now, just go to business.google.com. So that's business.google.com. And if you log in there, do you have control of your business listing right now? And if you do not, you absolutely must get control of that. It's very important. You need to respond to reviews there. You need to add all your hours of operation, your days closed. You need to add some photos. You need to add the services you sell. There's a lot that you need to do with your Google My Business listing. That is super important. I just met with a Google representative recently, and one of the things that they really want is they want people to put posts on their Google listing. Okay, it helps a lot. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm trying. I know I just saw Glenn saying, I'm trying to actually go slow. Can you believe it? So I'm glad it's being recorded, and I think we can send out the slide deck afterwards. This is very technical, and there's a lot that goes into it. So hopefully I'm giving you some highlights and opening your eyes that you should not just call around to companies. Yes, I'll repeat that. Call around to companies and just assume they're going to do a good job for you. That's what I'm trying to get at. So where you want to go to is business.google.com. So business.google.com. The other place you can do that is to go Google your listing. Okay, Google your website. Just Google your company. Okay, and in the right-hand side, the panel that comes up, that is the listing. That's your listing. You should be able to edit, like if underneath that listing it says own this business and you can click on it, that means no one's taking control of it yet. You need to take control of it. I can answer more questions about that later on if you want, but that's the listing that appears on the side. You need to have, that's really, really important. I can't stress that enough. It's super important. I'll just show you what that, here's my business.google. Okay, this is what mine, and here are all mine that I have under here. But if I go down to TechCare here, okay, and I go to this option here, it has all in here. It has, like, I can come to my reviews and see my reviews in here, and I can reply. I reply to all. You should reply to all your reviews in here. I can come in here, and here are the posts that I can add a new post that I'm talking about, and we can add photos in here. So here's some photos I added, and then here's some, if you go to info on here, this is really, really important. This has the address, it has the service areas, it has the days we're open, it has what things we're closed on, right? I got to do my 2022. I got to do that. Thank you for reminding me to look at this. I'm going to put in my closed days of 2022, our phone number, address, whatever you want here. Here's all my services, chock full of stuff you need to do, description, when it opened, blah, blah, blah. Okay, business.google.com. A little side note. Your web developer needs to help you with that. All right, who's going to choose your keyword phrases? Okay, this is really important. People are like, how am I doing in search? For what? How is TechCare doing in search? We're a web development agency. How is TechCare doing in search? For what? For thermoses? For Nike shoes? For what words? You need to know your words first, okay? So I had a client that was another landscaper client, and he was paying someone $600 a month, and I found out they were doing $600 a month. I'm going to show you another example of what he was paying for that $600 a month. And one of the things is they were optimizing their website for 3 keywords, phrases. I'm like, okay, what are those? So one was hardscape Reading, because that's where he was in Reading, Pennsylvania. So I went into Google's tool. This is, I don't know if you can see this. This is the average monthly searches being done on someone typing in hardscape Reading, 0 to 10. Why would you pay someone $600 a month to optimize your website for words that no one is looking for? My son used to call ice cream Tanini. Why didn't they just optimize the website for Tanini? It's the same result. You need to optimize your website for words that people are searching for, okay, online. So it's important. There's a whole science behind keyword research. So like, you need to choose those. And if they're going to help you with that and help you with the SEO, get the list that they're looking for. I had another client, they do medical, and they make this medical thing that helps draw medical equipment. One of the things they were optimizing for was like knee replacement. Like, people who are looking for knee replacement information are probably getting a knee replacement. They are not buying her $20,000 piece of equipment. So like, they need to make sense. All right. So just something to think about. Just put it in the back of your head. Keywords make a big difference. If they're going to do the SEO, what is included in that work? So I told you about that customer that was paying $600 a month. I'm like, what's included in that? Okay, optimizing for 3 keyword phrases, of which no one's looking for them. Okay, strike. But anyways, they're paying for that. This CA is, I don't want to go too much into it, it's called Canonical Authority. If you go out and you write a blog post or a website or a paper or anything, that is your intellectual property, right? That's yours. You wrote it. It's original writing. It's not plagiarized. It's original writing. That's called the Canonical Authority. You don't have to remember that term, but if you hear it, this is what it is. It means that's the owner of the information on the internet. So remember I showed you those ones with all those websites that were all the same, right? There's one that's the Canonical Authority, that's the original, and all the rest don't get the credit because Google knows that they're plagiarized. So you know, if they're going to write content, if say they're going to write content for you, then you want to make sure that it's original content that goes to you. And then you also want to know where they're going to put it. Hopefully they're going to put that. I had a client and I'm like, you need to write some blog posts. You need to write it. Google knows you're about this, but you're on page 70 for these keyword phrases. You've got to write some content so it pushes you up in search. Google knows. So like, finally they hired someone to write it. And I'm like, oh, this is so great. It's a great article. We're going to post it. They're like, oh no, we're going to send it out to the news agencies. I'm like, no, because in the Canonical Authority, yes, that's correct, business.google.com. It's going to live out there and you're not going to get credit for it. So you need to make sure that this stuff lives on your website. In addition, there's this thing called backlinks. What is a backlink? A backlink is just a link back to your website. Okay, you can't control all of the links back to your website because people will link to them anyways, right? But if you're paying someone, you hear all these people like, we can get you backlinks, we can get you backlinks, okay? Red flags should go up in your head immediately. And if you want to hire them, that's fine. Find out where they're going to post your backlinks, because this is the difference. Remember I said white hat and black hat methods, right? So white hat are legit methods. So getting a backlink, go write an article, get it published in the Patch. How about the Chamber of Commerce's website, their listing? Join some associations, get links back to your website from these reputable associations. Get an article published in the paper. You know, there's all ways that you can do that. It's hard. It's not easy. It's going to take a lot of time and effort. Someone's promising you like all these backlinks really easily. I'm going to show you what they're doing. They're building fake websites, huge fake websites. And then what they're doing is they're writing articles and they're putting a link for your website on those. Okay. Now you might think that's great. A lot of them, you need to see where they are. When I had in that meeting with the gentleman that was paying $600 a month, and I said, okay, you're getting backlinks. That's what he's paying for. He's paying for 3 keyword phrases not being searched for. Okay, but tell me about your backlinks. He's like, well, it's our secret sauce. I can't give that out. No, fire. You fire that person. Like that's secret sauce. Seriously. So I was so upset about that. Like I ended up looking up where I could, you can easily, all you have to do is there's a way to find all your backlinks. You just do, you type site : and then your website, and all the places that a link to your website come up. I'm going to show you what they did. Okay. Wait, right before I show you that, there's what's called a domain authority, and a domain authority is like how your website is perceived by Google, right? Because is your website kind of crappy and spammy? That's a low domain authority, right? Down 0, 1 to 10, whatever. And then a high authority, which is really difficult to achieve, is like up, above 50. Like that's very difficult to achieve. So if you know your domain authority right now, you have a website and you're in the 20s range, don't freak out, but it's very difficult to get high. But like, say you get reference from like big news organizations, CNN, Fox, or MSNBC, any of these like reputable, or, a newspaper, Washington Post, or whatever, you get referenced by them. That is great because they have a big domain authority, and it's kind of like your friends, right? So if you have children and they start hanging out with people who are involved in crimes and doing drugs and stuff, you say to your child, or say you, or that's your person, and your friends start doing all these bad things. You know what? I'm going to kind of separate myself from this group because I'm not in that group. Okay. So, the people, I'm going to separate myself, because if you keep associating yourself, guess what? Everyone else is going to associate that you're a criminal and you're a drug user as well, right? So you don't want that for your website. You don't want to be associated. Your business does not want to be associated with those. So you don't want to be tied to those spammy websites, because Google thinks you're tied to those spammy websites and they're going to bring you down. So there's a whole bunch of links I found. I'm going to show you. This is unbelievable. So I went to go look at these. He was a Reading. He's in Reading, and he does landscaping. This is where he was. See, this is what was linked. It goes back to his website, right? I'm just going to read this to you. Okay. Recently, maintainability offers possessed the unmistakable anyway challenge to put on people in general arrangement. He's paying $600 a month for this. Keep that in mind. While couple of inquiry, the basic thought person, life on planet should in the end be enduring, the exact related with this expression, particularly in metropolitan scene, keeps on being liable to substantial contradiction. Therefore, there should be a phenomenal requirement for sustainability, more explicit edges for understanding and applying urban view manageability, like in residential landscaping reading. Isn't that crazy? This is real. He was paying real money for this. I'm not going to read them all to you. There's so many. Look at, these are the same words. People who have business and homes are happy to do some landscaping job that turns the space to be beautiful. By designing well, you make the curb appeal come out and even have the space usable. There are common ideas such as planting grass and flowers. You can also go with human-made features. By using the hardscape reading elements, things come out beautiful. This is dumb. This is dumb. At least that's more readable. Lately, sustainability offers occupied the prominent, however contested, put on the public plan. You getting the idea here? Okay, so if someone's offering you backlinks and they're like, we can get you backlinks, you need to see where they are, because this is what they do. And so Google is going to think you're associated with these websites. And guess what? This guy is out of business right now. Not that it had anything to do with this. I'm not sure what it is. He's not in business. So you don't want to end up that way. That's why I say these are the used car people of our business. Okay, and I'm looking at the time, it's 12:45, so I'm gonna kind of whiz through the end of this. Who will update WordPress themes, plugins, and stuff after today's live? You have to do this. You've got to find out how much it's gonna cost. In our world, everyone's moving to recurring revenue. We developers, we want the recurring revenue. We want the recurring revenue we want. So we're gonna charge you every month. That's a standard thing. So just be aware of that to maintain the back end of your website, not necessarily to add a new blog post or change out your bio photo, but to update the software, okay? Who's gonna be doing it? If it's gonna be someone else doing it, is the developer okay with that? Some web agencies say you have to use our services afterwards. I mean, you really don't, it's your website. But anyways, ask about that maintenance, ongoing, who's gonna be. And then if something breaks during the updates, who's going to fix it? Like sometimes we update something and it breaks the website. Not so much anymore. We used to a lot, like all the time they would break, like literally every time we updated a website. They've gotten a lot better now, but just ask them that question, okay? And it is highly recommended to have a maintenance plan in place. Someone should be updating your website on a regular basis. If you don't pay for that and you don't do it, eventually something will break. And if your business is not that important to you and your website is not important to you and it breaks, fine. But if your website is an integral part of your business, then you need to pay for that and or do it. It's important. It's important. Content changes, are they going to train you, or is the developer going to make all the content changes? Because you should be changing content on your website. This is not a project you do and you're done and you just forget about it, right? This is something that you should be changing and activating and offering new things on your website and changing things all the time. So who's going to actually do those changes? So is the developer going to do it? How much is it going to cost? And also, how long does it take to get those updates? We used to get most of our clientele from people who were dealing with a web developer, and they would just disappear, or they wouldn't do stuff for like 2 weeks at a time, 3 weeks at a time. So now we get less of that, but we still do. We just talked to someone this week and they want to do a website because the people, they send them changes and they're like, it takes like a week or two. So you want to find out what's the time. Ask them if I send you a new team member or someone gets fired and we need to take them off right away, how long is that going to take? Just have an idea. Accessibility, I'm not going to talk a lot about this. This is new in our industry. ADA accessibility, having your site ADA compliant. Just ask if they have any opinion about that. It just shows that they're up to date. How much is it going to cost? It can usually be very expensive. There are some things that you can put on that are less expensive. If you just put that little widget on there that's free, that might deter some people. I have a client who came to us after they got sued, and they just got sued again. And he has to fight this in court. He's in Westchester County. And so these companies are sending out hundreds of pro forma suing letters like every day, and they're just seeing what bites. And so you have to defend yourself. So, it's not happening to everyone. I don't mean to scare you. It's something to look at. Most clients are not choosing to put anything on the website, but thank you. Thank you. But just, accessibility, just kind of look into that. Just put that in the back of your head. If you are a hotel or restaurant or service industry, it's more important for you to do it. And if you're in New York, Florida, or California, it's more important for you to be looking at that. Okay. How to be a great customer. This is for you. Make a list of your services and your product categories now, and your categories. Get organized. Organize your content. If you haven't hired someone yet, Organize your stuff. So many people come to us and they have nothing. And then the project grinds to a halt and they've got to get us content. They feel stressed out, the clients, they've got to do their regular job, whatever that is. And they're not, it just, if you have time now, get your stuff organized, start writing some stuff, put it into folders. If you have galleries of pictures, start naming the pictures with keywords in them and put them into folders, organize them, pick out your best ones, throw away the other ones. Organize your stuff now. Gather. Do you have downloads, white papers, videos you want to include on your website? Get all the links to them. Get all your stuff together. Okay. It makes it a better. We love working with people that are super organized because if we don't have to explain to them how to do this and keep, getting like, please get us stuff, please. We can now focus on your messaging. So our minds are free to focus on making the site better instead of helping you organize yourself. Okay. So you get organized, you're gonna have a better result. So this is kind of what I was saying. Gather and your images are really important. If you do something that you sell products or you do something and is photographable, like you can take, is that a word? You take pictures of, hire a photographer or go take photos. It is money well spent. I can't tell you the difference in websites when we have professional photos as opposed to ones that someone just took themselves. We have these landscapers send us stuff and they'll be like people's coffee cups in the background or like hoses. I'm not kidding. Hoses draped across. Like just hire a photographer. They know what they're doing. And rename them and put them in folder and get them organized. Okay. Choose from your favorites. Gather your logins. You should know your registrar, your name server, your hosting, and how to log into your website. You should know that right now. And if you don't, gather them. And don't go ask someone and they give you something that's written on the back of a manila envelope 5 years ago. You test it. Test it. People are getting better about this now. They used to send me 85% of the time they were wrong logins. Test it. Log in. Make sure you got it all together. It's a big one. Pay your bills on time. We like working for people who we have already know what the pricing is going to be. Everyone's agreed to it. Pay the bills on time. When you start like arguing and nickeling and diming about everything or whatever, if you don't pay your bills on time, if that's not your strong suit, guess what? Your web developer is going to be less interested in doing work for you. So you want the best result, right? So pay them and they'll be happy working with you, especially if you're organized, and they're going to give you more attention than they are going to give their other clients. And then do what the developer assigns to you. Don't drag the process out. Okay. Be active, do what you're told to do and get it done in the time. You'll have a better result. And that's it. So I know we have like 8 minutes left, I think.
Okay, thanks, Jennifer. We're going to use the remaining time that we have for questions. And just as a reminder, if you have a question, please use the Q&A button and we'll just take as many as we can up until the top of the hour. And maybe I'll just start with the few that we have here already, Jennifer. We have one from Carlton. Some website providers such as GoDaddy, Wix, etc., offer free website builder tools. For someone first starting out without doing e-commerce, aren't these tools sufficient for do-it-yourself? Is e-commerce capability more complicated for doing it yourself?
Okay, that's a great question. I love that question. So if you are just starting out and you don't have the money to hire a web developer, that's why I'm starting this new thing this coaching business. It's like, there's so many of you out there. This is what I tell people when they come to me over the past couple of years and they like, it's just too much money. I can't afford it right now. I'm going to try it myself. I will say, good. Go out and try to set something up. And what that exercise is going to do for you and for the future web developer, if you go back, is number one, you're going to get organized. You're going to realize how difficult it is. And you're going to realize you're going to see these beautiful themes and be like, oh, I want that one. And then you're going to put your own content in there and be like, this looks horrible. It doesn't look the same. I don't know why. So I definitely say, try it. Even if you're going to hire someone, go and start it. Try it and see what it is. It's going to put you in a different mindset and you're going to understand what the web developer is asking for. They set you up. They're not going to walk you through the process for SEO and everything. If you're selling a couple products and there's no customization, that's fine. A lot of people need they need different pricing for wholesalers, or they want you to be able to choose different things that those straight, they have one system, you work on their system. And you can't deviate, can't do anything special, like if you want to do local delivery and things like that. But I will say, so it's really good exercise to go through, and that's a good for starting out. And then you can say, now I have something, but it's not working for me for these reasons. And now you can come to a web developer and say, I have this and I know what I need. Can you get me to the next level? And so they're set up to give you a rudimentary. I think they're better for learning how to do with a website than but some websites I did go, we went out on a dolphin tour recently, and I went to a website and they did it on Wix. I noticed that, and it was beautifully done and everything. So it can be well done. So always try it and then see if you need something the next level.
That's great. We had an early question that may largely be answered now, but I'll give it to you so you can add comment. I'm thinking about creating a website to sell my products. Where do I start? How do I go about interviewing and selecting a website developer? Maybe you want to add some context around, because that's pretty much what we've covered during the webinar.
Yeah, I know. So, some people do a Google search. That's, you can also ask around to other people who have had a website developed. Like, do you have tell me about your relationship? Or have you been with that web developer for a long time? And then ask these questions that we have here. It will help you weed out, the ones that you don't want to work with. And you don't have to have long conversations with all your you can have a 10-minute call with someone and know right off the bat if you're going to. And I do want to mention one other thing. It was interesting. Recently I did something. I'm like, someone said to me, well, this is like a marriage. I'm like, well, kind of. We are having a marriage because we want to have a long-term relationship with you. And so you do want to pay attention to that. So find someone that you like, that when you're on the call with them, that you mesh, that you feel gets you or wants to get you or is invested in you.
Okay. We have a question on overseas developers, and the question is, from what I've learned, it seems mostly every developer has people overseas, at very least as contacts to sub the work when they receive too much business in the United States. Given I could hire these persons outside the US personally, but choose not to for my intellectual property to fall in the wrong hands, is there a way to truly prevent this?
Well, I mean, that I don't know. I'm not sure about that. I mean, I would just say, if you're really worried about that, then find someone that only hires people in the United States. I mean, and has maybe some of the, when you sign those contracts, that you own that intellectual property, I would say work with your lawyer on that, or look at the contract they're giving you and make sure that all that information's in there that you need in there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of good overseas developers, but we just don't like using them because we need the consistency. My team needs to work directly with the client. They can't always go through me and I'm a buffer. If you have someone that's a buffer always to the developer team, now all of a sudden you're going to have delays. You are going to have delays. You don't want that. You want to be talking directly to the people working on it. So,
but I think to guard against it, maybe the best way is to have it in the contract that they don't hire overseas people, and it may be hard to monitor, but I think you could certainly insert that, and if they balk at it, then you'll know the answer.
Right. Yeah.
Another question here: how much time does a developer usually give as a free consult to ask all these questions that we've gone through today? And I feel that 9 out of 10 will feel this is too excessive to ask.
I'm just going to switch the microphone really quickly. You know what? You can ask a couple of the questions and get a good feel. Like if you're asking about the malware protection and the backup, those are like easy. Those are like softballs, right? And if you come up with something and they don't answer you correctly about that, then you can move on from there. You don't have to go into. You can ask them quickly, like, are you going to use a theme or a custom theme? You can ask them quickly and say, and we do a 10-minute, intro call, usually ends up being 20 minutes, but that also will give you an idea. If they're not willing to spend a little bit of time with you, are they going to be willing to spend time with you later on?
Good advice. We have time for one more. What is the standard level of protection that developers have to protect themselves so that a hacker doesn't target the developer's computer/network and take our information/users data? Is there a gold standard that developers are meeting or not?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the type of website and what you have on the website, right? So if you just have a brochure website that average, like you're a restaurant, you have your menu up there and a gallery of pictures, there's really nothing that they can steal. There's nothing they can get. If you're collecting data on forums and things like that, that's personal information, that's a different story. And in that case, you do, because you can familiarize yourself with GDPR, which came out a couple of years ago, and it's really based in Europe. But all of what we're doing now, you go to all these sites and you have to accept cookies. It's totally annoying. That's from GDPR. That is from the European Union. Is to protect people so that they know where their data is being used and that is if it's being shared or not. So just look into the GDPR piece. But for a basic brochure website, there's nothing really to steal. And then for ones that, do have proprietary information in the back end, you want to look at, like, are you getting a dedicated server? What kind of firewalls you have in place? Kind of the same question. If they're going to host you on Bluehost, that's probably not very secure.
Okay. That's great. Unfortunately, we are out of time. So that's all the time we have questions for. Just as a reminder, the recording of the webinar and the materials will be available on our website, fairfieldcounty.score.org, under on-demand webinars, and it should be up there either later today or tomorrow. Our next live webinar is tomorrow, Thursday, January 13th at noon, and the topic is building mobile apps, advanced software, and AI solutions without code, with Colin O'Brien presenting. And again, if you want to take advantage of free individual counseling, you can use the yellow bit.ly link on the screen, or you can go to our website and click on Request a Mentor. We would appreciate it if you could fill out your evaluations for us. They are very helpful to us. And on behalf of SCORE, I'd like to thank you all for attending our live webinar today. But in closing, a big thank you to Jennifer for providing a lot of valuable information today. So stay well, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks for attending.
Thank you.